Look at that.
Connecting 101, we are at a university, so here's my university looking slide. So you are in the prospecting business, it's up the top there. You know, I had a little bit of a problem of the whole concept of going out and getting people and, you know, but it's not getting people, prospecting is purely just talking to people. It starts with hello. And it's a matter of just finding out what people are wanting in their life. And often it's not what we think it is either, right? So, but you need to know you do need to talk to people in this business. Yeah, you need to get on the phone, maybe you start on social media, maybe you're talking to people on social media, but you need to go and talk to people, whether it be at the coffee shop, whether it be at Coles. And when Alan and I first got into this business, we just go down to the coffee shop and Coles and we just talk to people with no intention of talking about isogenics, but if it got to that conversation, then we would. But that's where you start, right? And you constantly need to be prospecting people. So even the big income earners in our company, they continue to prospect and enroll people all the time, right? Some of them, you know, 5 a month is their amount that they want to be constantly enrolling, right? So you do need to keep prospecting. Okay, number 2 is, if people don't know what to say, they're likely to say nothing. So we have learned that if you are to enroll somebody and then they decide that they want to share the business, that you really do need to step them through the processes, right? You need to tell them what, you know, or discuss with them what they could say to people, yeah? So, and discuss your conversations, right? So who do you have in mind that you'd like to share this journey with? You know, oh, Jane, okay. So what do you think Jane would be looking for? Would it be, you know, healthy aging? Would she like to lose, you know, a couple of kilos? What is it? And how would you talk to Jane about that? And we can give them ideas on actually how to interact with that person so they can get off to a great start and set up, you know, what it might look like for them. Because the clearer it is in their minds, right, possibly the best outcome. Okay, number 3 is people need you. You don't need them. Right? So as I said before, you know, that going to get people into your business, no, we've got a gift. We truly have a gift. We all know the products work, right? Has everybody had an amazing product experience here? And some of you who's just starting out on their product experience as well. Fantastic, I can't wait to see the results. So you have an amazing product. We have an amazing compensation plan. Our company is so well-rounded in so many different ways. So it's really a matter of just sharing the experience. And if it's a no at that particular time, don't burn any bridges. As I'll explain a little bit later, you never know how things may change, right? So we don't need people at all, right? They need us. We truly have an amazing gift. And here we go. It's already up to the next one, I forgot. So not everyone is ready yet. So I'd just like to share a quick story on this one. When I first started doing this business, and I was still working as a school teacher, teaching business in Japanese, I had a friend at school who would constantly ask me about my small businesses because we had an eBay business and a sports tour business, and he was sort of sussing out all these different business ideas. And I was sharing a little bit about that, and I said, you know, but you can't go past network marketing, mate. Like, you've got to look into it. And he was extremely rude to me, right? To the point that I know that a lot of people would just go, it wouldn't be the F fun word, okay? But I took it and, you know, I was a bit upset and taken aback and was teased about it because he's the kind of person that teases and does all those sorts of things, right? But I was like, okay, I'll just take it. Really wasn't, you know, something that I could handle, so that was fine. And then several months later, his wife actually contacted me and joined our business. And she's currently a director. She will be executive probably within the next month. And now he's copying all the flack at school. No, but Tate's come around as well and he apologises for that time. But see, I could have screamed back at him, you know. I really could have had a go at him. I could have fought back. And none of that probably would have eventuated, right? But I let go of the outcome. And I didn't delete him or block him on Facebook, even though he sort of teased me about it constantly, right? I just kept putting my message out there and being authentic and true to myself. And I remember we were sitting down for a cocktail with Sandy Canton and Angus Love in San Diego at our first Isoderby, and I had a message from his wife saying, I'd love to meet up for a chat. I'm interested in the products and the business. So, you know, that was the start of their amazing journey with us as well. Okay, so, and obviously you're going to get better as you go along, right? So this little graph down the bottom here, you know, your level of clarity and the ease of achieving the goal, as, you know, if you're willing to reflect and change things up, try different things, then you will improve your prospecting skills as you go, yeah? So I still have failures now, all the time, right? I have those moments where I'm like, oh man, but I learn from that as much as I can, or I don't learn and I do the same thing again and again and again. But it's okay because there's literally hundreds and thousands and millions of people out there, right? So we can afford to make mistakes. And in the very beginning, I remember constantly being worried that I was saying too much or saying too little. And I had a huge sign in my bedroom that said, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person, which I think David Wood taught me, right? And I constantly referred back to that, and as I was going to pick up the phone to speak to a friend, I'd look at it and say, I can't say the wrong thing to the right person, and just go for it, right? And then reflect afterwards. And that is key, guys, to reflect, right? Be open to learning. Go and share that experience with someone. Actually, some of the most grueling sort of sharpening of the sword experiences that I had in the beginning was one of the people in our team actually taught how to cold prospect people. And he would record my phone calls. I allowed him to record my phone calls, right? And then he would give me advice on how I can improve the conversations. Look, that was really out of my comfort zone, but it really did help me improve my skills and honing on helping people, because ultimately I just want to help people. I really just want to help people. So if I don't improve myself, I can't help them. I can't give them that gift if I can't portray it in a way that they're going to be open to either a yes or a no answer, right? So it is a skill we need to continue to work on it, yeah? Awesome. Ja-ja. So where do we find people? Well, firstly, we can find people at Coles. We can find people in this room, but they're all taken. No good. But there's literally people everywhere. So I've got up here 9 groups of places where we can find people, right? So don't be overwhelmed by this, okay? So Alan and I, we recommend to our team, choose 3. How many? 3. Fantastic, you're listening. Up the back? 3. Not as much energy, but come on! Ready all together now? 3. Thank you. Just choose 3 of these, and I'll go through them in a moment and explain how you're going to find these 3. But here they are. And if you can think of any other, let me know, but I'm pretty sure we've got all the groups here. So the first one is your warm market. So your warm market refers to people that you have a previous relationship with. So Alan and I, after we left Celebration 2 years ago, we were consulted at the time, and we were told, write down every single person that you know, and then just go about starting conversations with them. So we literally got in the car, and on the way home, we firstly actually wrote down all the places that we'd been in our lives. Like, we went back to like the hospital that we were born in. Ironically, would you believe, does anyone know Catch Blackburn? Yeah. He was actually born in the same hospital as Alan, but they didn't know each other then. But, you know, we wrote down, you know, where we were born, where we went to kindergarten, primary school, you know, every association. So basketball associations, because Alan's heavily involved in basketball. I've done Rotary Youth Leadership Awards. I knew people through that. So every single group and association we've ever been involved through in our life, we wrote down all of those first. And then we went back to the first one and went, right, hospital. Yes, I still know my doctor and his daughters. They live on the Gold Coast. So wrote down every single person that we knew, if we liked them or not. And I know you're laughing, right? But people change, right? Yeah? I actually get along with some people that I never used to get along with when I was younger. So you write down absolutely everybody, and even if you really wouldn't, you know, you knew that person went to jail, and, you know, I had one of those. But write them down anyway, because they might click an association of someone else that you know through them, right? Or, you know, you might still have a conversation with them, and they might give you an idea, or they might refer someone to your business, right? So write down every single person's name, and you would be surprised. And people say, you know, I'm lost in this business, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. I always go back to this. I turn off my Facebook notifications, right? And go through all my Facebook friends. Don't think too much and think of new people that I know, and I just keep writing down names, and I start to build this confidence. And the key step at the end is, before I before I say, okay, yes, I definitely do have people that I could speak to, I actually contact 3 of them, okay? So you do want to, the warm market, I believe, is quite ginormous if you think about it. If you think of all the different associations, and the majority of our business builders are actually from our warm market. We've got great relationships with them. They're the people that we actually want to work with as well, right? Because we've got these long-standing relationships. And, you know, I think people underestimate their warm market. And there's still people in our warm market that we sign up even today, right? They might have said no in the very beginning, but we've, you know, kept that idea that they might one day join our business. We haven't burned any bridges. We've still been ourselves and they've been themselves, right? And so warm market's a great place to find people, and you can always go back to that one. Okay, so warm market. Then another one is your daily activities. So who here is a part of an association, like maybe a sports club, or is anyone a part of like Rotary or Apex or the different groups, you know, youth groups or church? Any church goers? Yeah? Yeah, so if you've got different associations that you're involved in constantly, who in that association might be interested in this opportunity, right? So I personally, my daughters go to nearly every after-school activity possible, and they love that, right? So, you know, we go to swimming, we go to tennis, we go to so many different things. You know, we've got gym lessons, we've got calisthenics, we've got horse riding, and we're constantly meeting new people and having conversations, right? So all from those daily activities. Okay, next place you can find people, social media. On social media, you know, it's not just Facebook, right? It could be Instagram, it could be Snapchat, it could be, there's so many out there, right? You don't have to, I would recommend in this area though, maybe just choose one to begin with to focus on, and then as you master that, then move on to the next one, yeah? So Alan and I predominantly Facebook. We've been venturing into Snapchat lately, just for some fun. It's a whole different world, right? But, you know, social media is a great place to find people. And the way to find people on social media is not just to go to different pages and say, look at my transformation, does anyone want to join me, right? It's to join groups that you're authentically interested in. So if you're into playing chess, go and join a chess group on Facebook, right? If you're into riding bicycles like Jen Jeffries, right? Then go and join the bike. Are you on the bikies page? I'm on the bike. Yeah. Pages. Yes. And when you're on that page, you're not saying, come and join Isogenics, are you? You're purely building relationships, I presume. Jen's a master at this. She's a pro. So she'll be building relationships with people authentically because she is interested in what they're doing, right? Because she's, you know, wanting to learn about that. So Alan and I, don't tell my daughters, but we're planning a trip to Naplan at the end of the year. Not Naplan. Naplan! You know, my daughter would actually like to go to Naplan though, I think. She loves school. So I'm on pages trying to learn about cold weather and where to go in these places, and I found like an ice hotel, and I'm asking people questions, and I've become friends with people, and we're having conversations around that, right? Whether it turns into an Isogenics conversation or not, I don't know, but they are on my Facebook, so they are going to see that. They're going to get that subliminal feeding, right, of the Isogenics story. So, you know, I'm building those relationships all the time now. Okay, hopefully that gives you some ideas, yes? Mm-hmm. Yep. Is this useful? Yes. Fantastic. Okay, so the next one is business and specialised groups. So perhaps you're a part of, you know, as I said, I've lived in Japan for 10 years, so, you know, I get involved in the Japanese community, and we've got Japanese groups on the Gold Coast, right? So I used to attend them, I don't recently, but there's different specialised groups that might be around your interests, okay? So if you're learning the drums or something like that, there might be a specialised group. Or perhaps you're involved in a business group, right? Networking groups. There's many networking associations and whatnot. So get involved in these. Maybe just choose one. Okay, and seminars and courses. We've met fantastic people actually at seminars and courses. So maybe Tony Robbins, although it's on the same time as, I believe, Sydney ICU, isn't it, this year, unfortunately. And, you know, I've met and prospected people from Tony Robbins courses, from T. Harv Eker courses, from different personal development courses. Right? So Landmark and those sorts of things. And often those people have a little bit of a business sense and are open to different experiences and network marketing in general, right? So you might find that's a great place to find people. Next one is exhibitions, roadshows and markets. Who's ever done one of these? Yeah, fantastic. I personally haven't done any. We have in our team, and I've been trying to help them, link them up with people that have done them before. So if you're going to do any of these, right, you think, I'm going to do that one and that one, go and speak to somebody that's done that and ask them for advice. Find out what worked for them, what didn't work for them, right? And the best copycat wins, right? So Clark Nathan, who's a great team member of ours, he put it really well. You know, in school they teach you that you copy the next door neighbour's work and you fail. But in life, the best copycat wins, right? So people have done it successfully, so find someone that's been successful in any one of these areas and ask them for advice and hone in on that, okay? And find your position and find people the way that you would through their experience, so you can really fast track how to find people in all of these areas. And as I said, I'm not a professional in that area, so speak to someone that has done it and done it successfully. So who are those people? You put your hands up again. So if you're interested in doing exhibitions, roadshows and markets, those people, you put your hands up again?
I do.
Yeah? You might want to speak to one of those people. Yeah? Okay, great. Referrals. Who has ever had a referral from somebody? Fantastic. Can everybody just look around at the people that have had referrals from people? Great. And can we just ask, since you're at the front here, I hope you don't mind and you're being put on the spot, was that referral somebody that you prospected, or how did you actually get a referral? Like, what kind of referral was that?
It was a referral from someone who was actively using the products, had a really good product experience, and they just started referring their friends to us. And what we did was we went back to the person who had a really positive product experience and engaged them back in the referral process, and basically just taught U+2, then+2 to them.
Fantastic. So that person ended up enrolling those people. So yeah, totally awesome. So that is one way of doing a referral. Has anyone had any other type of referral before? We'll run over here. I won't run too far.
My sister is not involved in ICD, but she actually referred someone to me. So that was a bit exciting.
It is very exciting, isn't it? Was she interested in getting involved with it, even with that referral? No? Okay, fantastic. But that's so true, right? So if somebody might not be interested in doing it, we said before, don't burn bridges, because perhaps they'll introduce someone to you that is interested in doing it, right? So that's another way to find people in this game. And it's a game, right? You get that, right? This is a game, yeah? Awesome. Okay, next one is advertising. Okay, so advertising, Alan and I did a bit of advertising in the early days. It wasn't so good. Looking back now, we did not check with compliance. We were really, really naughty, and it had to be pointed out to us, and we did fix it as soon as we found out that we were doing the wrong thing. But I do recommend, if you're going to advertise anything, just make sure it's compliant. And it's really simple. We've got great systems set up in Australia. You just send it through to compliance, they check it for you, and then you can advertise, okay? So that's another way of finding people. And lastly, they find you, right? Which means you're attracting them into your life, right? So whether that be by having a social media presence that people become intrigued in what you do. So my Facebook is open Facebook, right? So we have had people, you know, inboxes that we don't know. That might be a connection of somebody else's connection, and ask us questions, right? So I mean, this is old. Wouldn't it be great if they all came from that area right there? Number 9, they find you, yeah? But it doesn't happen too often, okay? So, and it's not one that, you know, you can plan for to a certain degree, but I would actively choose 3 of those from that group there and work on those at any particular time. So has everyone got an idea in their mind right now which 3 they're going to work on for the time being? Yeah? Awesome. Okay, let's move on. Okay, someone becomes a connection when you have a way of recontacting them. I love this cartoon in the middle, right? Knocked, but you weren't in. Opportunity. Okay, so I'm going to be honest with you here. I met this amazing flight attendant on the way to Fiji last year, and I had declared as we're getting on the flight to Fiji, I was not going to do any more work. This is a holiday, there's no isogenics in Fiji, I'm just going to take a break, right? I declared it. I had this amazing conversation with a flight attendant, and she was like ticking every box. She wants a health experience. She's studying health-related things. She doesn't want to stay in her job forever. She really thinks there's more out there. She could be contributing more to the world. She could be doing this. She could be doing that, right? And I was getting really, really, really excited and nervous because it was just like too perfect, too good to be true. And we got off that flight without getting her contact details. No, I'm serious. And I was really, really, really upset with myself, right? Because I'm like, we've been doing this business for 2 years at that point, haven't we, Al? And I'm like, we should know better, right? But it still happens to me, yeah? And I'm sure, you know, that's the thing, as I said before, you know, you make mistakes. It's great when you can reflect and learn from them, but, you know, you do make mistakes on this journey, right? And it's always, always, always important to ask for their details. If you've only got 10 minutes in an Uber and you've had a really good connection with them, at the end, just be open and honest and authentic, right? And just ask, would it be okay if I do contact you, right? I do have this amazing opportunity. Would you be open to just hearing me out on it, right? And when I have asked that, hardly anyone has ever said, oh, no, no, no. And even if they did it, I'm not going to see them again after that, right? So really, I should have reasoned that in my head, but I stuffed up, right? So I'm just telling you, it's okay to stuff up, okay? It really is okay to stuff up because there is, you know, thousands and millions of people. But what hurts the most about that is, I've let that person down. She told me. It was seriously, if you believe in God or the universe, they were telling me to tell her. And I didn't listen, right? So I just want to warn you based on my experience, yeah? That, you know, just share. You can share. You know, they're not going to, the fear that goes on in your head and the chatter and all of that in your head, it is just chatter. And at least you can ask because you're letting them down if you don't. Okay, so how to talk to people. As I said before, it begins with hello. Real simple, right? Now, in the beginning, I kind of found I was verbally vomiting on people, right? I'd be like, oh my God, I've done this amazing program. It's been this. Do you want to try? Right? And then I became conscious of this. And then I actually took a couple of steps back and said, nothing. Right? So really I needed to find the middle ground in between. Right? So it is important that you do share a bit of your story, right? But you do need to listen for what they want as well. Yeah? So that's how I'm going to teach you how to do it right now. So it's not rocket science, as I said. This is just a little bit of a formula that might help you in getting going. But as I said before, you cannot say the wrong thing to the right person. You've been listening. Thank you. Or you don't say the word. Okay, so number 2 is the theory of 3. This is something that Alan termed because he loves basketball. I'm sure there's probably somebody's thought of it before and it's like a different name for it, but that's totally cool. But we just call it the theory of 3. 2/3, 1/3. You allow the other person to speak about 2/3 of the conversation and you speak about 1/3 of the conversation, right? Just to give a general idea, okay? So you want to be responding with them around about that perspective, okay? So don't be always looking for where you can incorporate isogenics, okay? You don't have to sit there like a cat ready to pounce as soon as they say, gee, it'd be good to lose some weight. Or, oh man, I wish I could do that. Yeah? So what I do, and to give you an actual real life example is, I'll be making an authentic connection with somebody. So I did go to the beach a couple of holidays ago with the girls and their girlfriends and their mum. And yes, I kind of had a little bit in my head, you know, she may be interested in isogenics because she had shown a little bit of interest in it before, but it was about the play date. That was my prime thing for that day, right? So if isogenics came up, yes, I would talk about it, right? If an opportunity where I thought, yeah, she would really be interested in it came up, which it did, I just wanted to ask her questions about that and enjoy the moment, enjoy the play date, right? And so when she did say, look, I've been struggling with energy, I asked her lots of questions about it. I said, you know, how long have you been struggling with that for? Like, when did that start? You know, was it straight after the kids? And she told me a little bit about it, and she told me a little bit about her experiences, about she'd love to be jumping on the trampoline with the kids now, but she just can't for different reasons. She's not really sure what it is, but so she talked a little bit about that. And I just kept asking her questions, and I said, you know, do you think you'd be able to, you know, if you did something about it, do you think you'd be able to improve it, right? And now you're probably thinking to yourself, now would be the great time to insert Isagenix, yeah? Well, I didn't. I continued just to ask questions and enjoy the play day, right? And build the rapport and the relationship. And then the very next day, I called her up and I said, look, I cannot stop thinking about what you're telling me about your energy. And I really do believe I have a solution for you. Would you be willing to hear? And she said, yes. And that's when I told her about Isagenix and what I was doing and what it could potentially do for her, right? She did actually reject me on that occasion, but we got the conversation going, we've got a great relationship and we've built rapport, and I'm just telling you that particular one, but it has worked in other situations where people have actually joined our business. But it's okay to get into the conversation and get this 2, 3, 1, 3, build the rapport and the relationship. You don't have to pounce on it straight away. Wait, you know, 12, 24 hours and then contact them at that point there, okay? So that might help you in some ways, especially for people that get really nervous and think that I have to just talk to everybody about Isagenix. It gives you that breathing space. Does that take a little bit of pressure off you? Because it did for me, and I still got that opportunity to that person, and you know, it was a great way of doing that. Okay. Find a reason to reconnect. Okay, this is one of my favourite. I do it all the time. I'll be on a flight with somebody and they'll tell me about their twins and they've just moved to the Gold Coast, and I'll say, oh, you've got great support on the Gold Coast. I know lots of people with twins, you know. And she says, no, actually, I don't know anybody. And I said, oh my goodness, I know there's associations. I could link you up with my friend. She has twins. They've got, you know, they've got these different groups that are going. Are you on Facebook? Or give me your phone number, or however I can reconnect with her. And I set them up for that. One of my favourite ones, which I don't know if you have in New South Wales, but in Queensland we actually have a government incentive that you get $150 back for putting your kids in a sport. And I contact all the mothers I know about that one, right? So we'll be at different associations and groups, and I'll say, you know about the rebate, right? And they'll say, no. And I'll say, oh, join me up on Facebook, I'll send you the details through. Yeah? So I'm adding value to people. Okay, so some of you are probably thinking, you've got an underlying intention there. We've got to go back to Isagenix is a gift though, right? And I want to help people however I can help them, right? So I would generally give those details to people. If it, you know, put Isagenix aside, I want to be helping people. So I'm always looking for ways I can actually help people and add value, yeah? So if you're constantly doing that, that's a great way to connect with people. The next one is to create synchronicity. I love this word. Does anyone know what synchronicity means? Okay, I will tell you. So synchronicity is all about creating like a coincidence-like situation. So if you go to the coffee shop at 8:30 every single morning, right? You're setting up a bit of a pattern. You'll probably find the same people go at 8:30 in the morning. Have you ever noticed when you're driving, if you leave at the exact same time, same cars are on the road? Yeah? You've probably become more observant of that now too, the same thing. Right, so if you're creating this situation where people are constantly in the same spot, right, you're going to be running into the same people. Yeah? Yes? Yeah. Is everyone falling asleep now? Okay, great. So in that way, if I keep going back to the same coffee shop or go to the same yoga class, I'm going to be seeing the same people, and I can build relationships and rapport with those people. Yeah? So whenever we do that, people love that it's a coincidence. We're constantly meeting up, and how cool is this kind of thing? You can actually physically create that. That's what I'm telling you. Yeah? So look for opportunities where you can create that synchronicity. Another way of doing this is, if I'm in Singapore and I walk past a bookshop and there's a book that my friend bought me in grade 10 and I'm prospecting her, I might take a photo and say, remember this book you gave me? How amazing was that? So sending little sweet things to them, right? If you know that somebody's interested in cats, who knows Jackson Park? This cat obsession's becoming a little out of hand, isn't it? Yeah. So if you know that they're interested in cats, go out of your way, find something funny about cats, don't send Jackson any more cat things, okay? It's too much. And send them a photo of a cat and say, I thought of you, right? So do those little special things. Who loves doing special things for people? Yeah, me too, right? And that way you're building rapport and building relationships with people, because actually this game is all about building relationships with people. So look for ways that you can take the relationship to the next level. How can I give a 51% to this relationship? Yeah? Look for that little bit extra, and you'll probably find you'll be giving and giving and giving more, right? And that's going to, you know, people are going to like you if you're adding value to their life. And the last one, be interested, not interesting. I love that Sandy slipped up on the words earlier there. I went, yes, because, you know, that's what I aim to do, right? So by being interested, you want to be asking better questions. And you know what? I'm going to be the first to admit it, I'm not very good at this. I'm really not. And if I think too much about it as I'm talking to people, I stuff up and I end up asking the yes-no questions and not the deeper questions. And I do have to practice it, and I actually practice it with my daughters and ask them to, you know, give me advice and feedback. We do this in the car all the time, in trying to get deeper with people and asking them, you know, why they're feeling the way they are, what they think they could do about it, and getting and digging into that conversation, right? So it is a skill and it needs to be practiced. But you want to find out as much as you can about people, their lives and what they're doing and how you can help them. And that's truly how you can help them. Just by having that conversation alone is sometimes the only help that somebody needs at that time. Yeah? So these are just some ways that you can talk to people and improve your relationships, because as I said, it's a relationship building game. So hopefully that's of value. Yeah. Ta-da. That way, right? Okay, so these are the 8 simple steps to enrolments. It's very university style. I prefer lots of pictures, but no, today, hopefully you can take some screenshots of all of this and take it home, and it'll be good review. So just to give you an idea of how Alan and I go through any enrolment, right? This is basically the system that we follow every time, and we find if we miss a step, we either have to go back and somehow incorporate that step, because it's not good foundation if we don't, or, you know, we have to, or we mess it up entirely and we have to go back to square one and start again. Okay, so the first one is to build the rapport, find out what they do, what they want, right? So as we're talking about with the questions before, we're building the relationship, really getting deep about what they want. Who's heard of timeline questions? Have you heard of that terminology before? Basically, it's a fancy thing for asking questions about what it's been like to that date. So I did with my friend on the beach. I said, you know, when did this start? Like, how long has this been going on for? And, you know, what's the experience like? And just listening, actively listening. And then saying, well, you know, is this going to continue, you think? Like, does it look like it's going to get better? And what happens if it keeps going on like this, you know? And people would say, that's just rubbing salt into the wound. And who's kind of feeling that right now? Can you be honest with me? Yeah. And I thought that way as well, like you're just rubbing salt into the wound. But we really need to get people to be present with their honest situation. I think, you know what, often we're in our own head and we're not actually recognising what it's really like for ourselves. And I know by having this conversation, and I've got to be honest, when I first did it, the first many times, I was kind of like, oh, I don't really want to rub the salt into the wound, but I actually found people really wanted to tell me what they were thinking, or I found that they hadn't actually even been open and honest with themselves about that could be their scary future, and actually it's something that they want to consider and they want to look into and see. And so I know I have actually helped people, right, as a result of that. So please give it a go. Right, and you'll probably find, yes, it might be an awkward conversation, but you will actually be helping the person. Okay, so to find out those sorts of things, then, you know, what does it look like, as we said? Then share a story, and we've written a story because it could be your story, but if you haven't had a aging story, or you haven't had a weight loss journey, it's been about energy for you, then you might need to share somebody else's story, right? And that's a great opening to connect that person up with them and invite them to share their story in the future in a 3-way call or a 3-way conversation. But you want to share a story with them, and it needs to be relevant to what they want. And often, it's not what we think it is. There's so many times when I thought this person will want to lose weight, and it turns out that no, they just want a little bit of energy, or actually they're struggling badly with their sleep, and they're just not feeling good in general, right? So you never know what it actually is, so it's really important to ask them those questions up front and share the right story. Then find out more, build the relationship, discover the impact and the why, like I suggested, right? Then use a tool. So in our team, we generally add people to a Facebook group, which is relevant to them, and I say Facebook group. I don't add them to start and then a personal one and then ISA, one team one, and all of them, because that's just too overwhelming. I just give them one and then ask them to have a look around that, or send them a video tool, right? So a video link, or we might send them to ISA FYI. If they're a science geek and they're wanting all the big terminology, we might send them to the product page, right? So it depends on the person to what we actually send them. But it's a really good idea that you go through all the tools, you know them back to front, so you know when you speak to someone, this person is going to want to see this, and send them what's appropriate for them, and only just a little snippet. Then next, we pause. We don't choke them and say, okay, you ready to start? Right? Are you ready to start yet? Are you ready to start yet? Are you ready to start yet? Okay, it doesn't really work that way. As we said before, we don't need people, right? They need us. We usually give it about 24 to 48 hours and we follow up with them and say, do you have questions? Would you like to get started? Or, where are you with it? Did you find something of interest for you? So ask them then. And we follow up in so many different ways. So I only got a couple of minutes to do a bit of follow-up things, but would you like some ideas about how Alan and I follow up?
Yes.
Okay, so the favourite one, maybe you've heard it before, but I'm sure there's people in the group that haven't heard it, is the ABC method. So this is when people don't respond to your messages, or they're not answering their phone calls, right? So I generally, these days, I leave either a voice message if they're not responding, or I might type it out depending on the person. And I say, look, Jane, I have contacted you several times now, right? So I call the white elephant in the room, right? And say, I just thought, maybe A, you're super duper busy, and I hear that, I saw on your Facebook that this was happening and this was happening, which is, I totally get that. B, you're really not interested, which is totally cool. It's totally okay, so give them an out. Or C, somehow I have offended you. And you know what, I get really passionate about isogenics and the lifestyle and the health and everything that it's created for Alan and I, so I hope I haven't overstepped the boundary. I would hate for it to be the case. So A, B or C, just let me know. And you know what, I saw that Johnny's going to tennis this weekend, we might see you down there, that would be fantastic, and sign off. So did you get that? Yeah? So it is very, very rare when I haven't had a response from that kind of message, whether it be a voice message, which is usually the best if they're not answering the phone, or a typed up Facebook message, okay? So just to see where you stand with people, because as we said, it's a relationship building game, right? So that's one of our favourite follow-ups that works really effectively, but it's just a matter of following up, and sometimes literally you've got to follow up and follow up and follow up and follow up, and you never know when they're going to be ready, so never write anybody off and just keep the relationship going. And a follow-up doesn't look like, are you going to do it yet? Are you going to do it yet? Once again, it's just like, hey, how are you going? What's happening, right? And if, they start talking about their health again, we've got some really, really, really close friends of ours, actually they're from Sydney, and they keep complaining about their health, and I've had to actually come to a final stance here and say, look, you can't keep complaining about your health when you know that I've suggested a solution to you. You've seen the proof in Alan and I, right? So, if you're wanting to do that, that's fine, but you cannot complain to me about it anymore, yeah? So this is all about building better relationships with people. And finally, it's the enrollment process and building the relationship, and it all starts from there, actually. That's where the keys are there, because you're still building the relationship, building the rapport with them, even through the journey, their first 30 days, their first 90 days, and their journey into the isogenics sharing side of things or business side of things. Yep. So that's the process right there. This is the scary one, right? when they come back with an objection. Who thinks these objections are a little bit scary? Yeah, they can be scary, right? But actually, I like objections. I've taught myself to love objections because actually I hate that. Hello, are you there? I sent you 5 messages. You haven't responded yet. You said you were interested in doing isogenics. I hate that trail of ringing people and not getting a no, not actually finding out what their true objection is. I prefer people to come to me and say, I have an objection. You know, whether that be the price, whether that be I don't do shakes, whether that be, you know, whatever it is. There's so many different possibilities of different things that people object to isogenics, right? But I need to know what that is to be able to address it. And if they don't tell me and they just go cold and they don't respond to my phone calls, then that's worse. Would you agree? Yes. So I've taught myself to love objections. And I actually find people get to objections in our team. I found our experiences. I asked them, yo, how did that person go? And they said, oh no, they said no because they don't do this. And I'm like, was it on Facebook? Can you show me the conversation? And to me, I'm like, this is awesome. And they're like, but they've said no. I'm like, no. They've opened up an opportunity here. You can address this with X, Y, Z. This is great, right? So look for the objections. And actually, Crystal Wilson in our team, she's got a great liner. I've got a live one. Whenever she sees an objection, she's like, yes, I know how I can deal with this. And steps them through the objection. And don't be deceived because often it's not just one objection. It could be like 5, 10, 20 in a row. And I'm now finding, I'm actually looking for objections and liking objections, that if I don't have any objections, and there's 2 people in our business that literally just come to us and say, here's my credit card, just join me up, don't even tell me about it, right? And we did, because we joined them up in the beginning. Both of those people haven't continued with the products. Yeah, they did have a good product experience, but I think it actually would have been better to have a little bit more of a process. And we're finding now, 2 years on, we're enrolling some people who we've gone through major objections with time over time over time. I could have given up. And I know people in my team would have given up with different conversations they were having with people had we not actually said, no, this is a good thing. You need this conversation. You now need to lead in with this. You now need to go back to them and offer this opportunity. Right? And actually respond to their objections. So objections are great things. So don't, as it says down the bottom, don't justify, don't argue, don't assume anything. By assumption, by assume, I'm actually meaning don't assume that they don't want to do it because they say they don't do shakes. Just find out what that looks like. So when you say you don't like shakes, is it that you don't like the texture of shakes? Is it that you've done shakes before and it didn't work for you? And find out exactly what they're objecting to first, and then respond to that with, we can't go into all of this right now, but, I often just go back to the basics with feel, felt, found. I totally understand how you feel because I don't do shakes either. I didn't do shakes. And when they turned up at my doorstep, because I didn't know this program was shakes, I freaked out, right? But, I followed the system. I was going to send it back if it didn't exceed my expectations, trust me. So I followed the system. By week 2, I've never had so much energy in my life. And what I found was that even though I was eating really healthy foods before isogenics, I wasn't actually getting the nutrients that my body needed. Clearly not, because I didn't have that energy, right? So then I share my experience with them and overcome that objection that way. Or I link them up with somebody who's had that objection and overcome it. So that's what it means by assume. So, don't justify, don't argue it, right? When they say, that's a pyramid scheme, you just want to go, no, it's not a pyramid scheme, but ask them, what is a pyramid scheme? What are you talking about? If it was illegal, I wouldn't be allowed to do it, all right? They shut these things down. We're living in a first world country, okay? So, but that's justifying and arguing and that sort of thing. We really, allow people their space and where they're at, meet them where they're at. But it's not worth, getting into fights over. Yesterday we were in an Uber actually and driving, and the guy was cut off, and then he wound down the window and he started abusing the guy in the car next to him. And Alan and I were freaking out. And I realised, I would just never do that, right? I make mistakes on the road, so, other people make mistakes on the road, and, if you try to go back at them, it just gets worse, it blows out of proportion, yeah? So it's probably better just to allow it to pass, and then you can show them reason for other things, or if you be the person that you'd like them to be, they're going to start responding to you like that. You're going to start attracting that same energy. So that's just a little bit about objections. Hopefully that helps you in the short amount of time we've got for that. But it all comes back to, and I've said it like 1,000 times, what key word starts with an R? Relationship. Thank you. It all comes back to the relationship. And so really what we're doing is building relationships with people. And as I said at the start, and I've said it throughout, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. If you're just there for people, listen to them, right? Try to add value to people's lives and build relationships with people. When the opportunity for Isagenix comes up, you can share that opportunity and they can take it or leave it, but it's always on the table and it's there for the taking if they're wanting to, and that's when you support them and grow with them and learn, and it truly is a gift and an amazing opportunity. So share with as many people as you can, right? Because, at the end of the day, it's not about you, it's about them, as I said. So you're giving that opportunity to people. And hopefully you got at least 1 or 2 things out of today's speech that you'll feel confident going out and speaking to many people and just being there for them. So thank you so much for your time today.